Hey everyone, welcome to Relatively Refined. My name is Paula. Well, in today's video, my sisters and I are doing something a little bit different. We thought it would be fun to take a look back at some of the ways that we have decorated our homes in the fall in previous years. So we've taken some older videos and combined them into one long marathon video of fall decorating inspiration. Now, there are lots of new videos coming your way with fun, new and fresh content, but I think it's always fun to reflect on where we've come from. We try to do something a little bit different each year in our homes, so it's always a fun thing to look back and see what we've done in years past. We hope you'll enjoy this look back as well. All right, let's get started with our fall decorating inspiration marathon. Hey everyone, welcome to Relatively Refined. My name is Paula. In today's video, I'm going to take you with me as I head out on the town and hit up some of my local antique and vintage stores. I am in search of some fall inspiration. Not necessarily in the form of things that I'm going to buy and bring home, but I'm looking for some inspiration in the way that they have their items displayed so that I might be able to take some of those ideas and bring them home to my house. All right, let's get started. Well, it's a beautiful day today here in South Carolina, and it's a perfect day to take a drive and hit up some of my favorite little antique and vintage stores that I haven't been to in a while, and see what they have out and what they've got displayed for fall. Fall is my favorite season, so I love the colors and I love all of the autumnal tones that you see out and about. All right, here is my first stop, and right off the bat, I spotted this beautiful candlestick. It was actually a pair. And if I am not mistaken, I think they were $16 for the pair. Now, I did not pick them up, and I'm not exactly sure why, except that in my mind, I was just looking for inspiration, not necessarily to buy things, but I may have to go back and check those out. And look at that gorgeous cornucopia. I could imagine that filled with gourds and pumpkins kind of spilling out on a big farm table or in front of a fireplace. This little teapot was darling, with the bear sipping his tea, reading his newspaper or his book. I thought it was so precious. It's $62. How cute is that? It reminds me of something that I did find out and about while I was thrifting, which I will share with you later in the video. And then we actually have that Bites on a Board book, which is a really lovely book all about how to create a charcuterie board. The first stop was just full of that fall glory that I love. And here's a little sneak peek at Christmas. I couldn't help myself. I do love vintage Christmas ornaments. And these were calling my name, so I went over to check them out. I am in search of some of those handmade vintage ornaments that were like maybe satin covered, and they had push pins in them with sequins and beads. I can remember my grandmother had some of those. I wish I had them. So this Christmas, I am on the search for some of those handmade vintage ornaments with the sequins and the beads in them. All right, well, that was a sneak peek at Christmas, but my task today is to get some autumn inspiration. So let's keep checking it out. And then this one thrift store I went into had this really very cool buggy as part of the display. And it was in really beautiful condition. The leather on the seat was perfect, and they had those black and orange pumpkins draped around it. Really fun to see. I thought this painted table was stunning, as was the box on top of it. I'm a sucker for hand-painted items. Actually, anything handmade, really. I love handmade items. I have a hard time resisting them. If I see them in a thrift store, I almost have to rescue them because I can't stand the thought of somebody's time and love that went into creating that being left in a thrift store. So I make it my mission to rescue those items. And here is a little stack of dishes. This is one of my all-time favorite dish patterns. I believe this is Indian Tree by Johnson Brothers. And this was just an assortment of some random plates. There was a dinner plate and a couple of, salad plates or bread and butter plates. But unfortunately, all of them had big chips out of them. So I did leave those behind. And of course, that is upside down. But let's see when we turn it around. Yes, it is Indian Tree by Johnson Brothers, England. I love the colors on those dishes. And who can resist brown stoneware bowls? These were so big and chunky. They reminded me of my Grandma Bunny and some mixing bowls that she had when I was a little girl. I love chunky pottery bowls like that. And these two seem to be in perfect condition. I was looking to see if they were McCoy because I absolutely love anything McCoy. I don't believe they were. And the price, let's see, the price is $35. Again, for an antique store, I thought that was a very, very fair price. How pretty would those look with pears or small pumpkins? And then these chairs, look at those gorgeous stenciled chairs. When I was a little girl, my Grandma Bunny had a table in her kitchen in the house where my sister Kathleen now lives. And she had a little square table that had two leaves that folded down and made into a rectangle, but she kept the leaves up in a square shape. And she had 4 black chairs around it that had a hand-painted design, much like this at the top, only I think the ones on her chairs, or the design on her chairs, was only in gold. But I thought those chairs were absolutely beautiful. I'm still thinking about possibly going back and seeing how sturdy they are because I'd love them for my to put around my table. Okay, this book, The Beverly Gray's Island Mystery. When I did my video about autumn reads, I mentioned that I love Nancy Drew, and one of our viewers wrote in about Beverly Gray mysteries, that they were similar to Nancy Drew, but they had just not gotten the play or the popularity of Nancy Drew, and I had not heard of them until just now when I saw that Beverly Gray mystery book. I did not bring it home, but I still think I may go back and check it out. I'd love to read it because I had not heard of Beverly Gray before. I had heard of Hardy Boys and Cherry Ames, Girl Nurse, and Nancy Drew, of course, but not Beverly Gray. These bowls were so pretty. That butterscotch color is one of my favorite colors for fall. And then these fun crocks were so pretty with the cream color and then the black graphics on them. Gorgeous. Vintage potted meat crock for $28. Again, I thought a very fair price. Those look great with wooden spoons, or actually one of my favorite things to do with a stoneware crock in the fall is to put a mum in it. There's a silhouette of a lady with her cap on. And there is her very dapper silhouette partner with his top hat. All right, this little mustard crock was so darling. The French mustard pot for $5. Again, I did not bring it home, spoiler alert. All of these things have sort of been on my mind, and I'm thinking to myself, why didn't I pick that up? But honestly, I don't really need it, but it is so darling. Very, very cute. And then this is so awesome. This is a metal dollhouse. This was fabulous. Here's the front. So this is what it looked like on the outside. I loved this dollhouse. I think it would be so fun to have a dollhouse and to furnish it. I think it was $75. When I was a little girl, I'd see dollhouses like that, and we had our Fisher-Price Little People dollhouse, and I could imagine myself as an adult, you know, it was pretending to live in a house like that. I had a wonderful imagination, and we played with those little people all the time, and you saw that dollhouse, the interior on the other side was so fancy. I could, as a little girl, it would be so fun to just imagine yourself living in that dollhouse. Kind of like how I want to live in a Susan Branch book now. Beautiful coffee set with the coffee pot and the creamer and sugar and those pink roses. And I couldn't resist. How cute are these little figurines? I think they're all salt and pepper shakers, but I thought they were so cute and kitschy, I couldn't help myself. Another beautiful cream and sugar set. That would look so pretty in the winter time. You know, the blues and creams with your evergreen branches. I think it's a very beautiful color combination. This tin was so lovely. The colors on it I found to be stunning. I had so much fun just looking around. I love to see how each of the booth owners display things. It really gets my creative juices flowing and gives me ideas for my own house. This wire urn reminded me of my sister Kathleen. She has an urn problem in the same way I have a teapot problem. And she has found some beautiful urns, one of which is a gorgeous French wire urn. And she showed that in a video a while back. And if I can find that video, I will link it. And now these dishes. Okay, let me tell you about these dishes. These are Falstaff brown drip dishes, and I love them. My Grandma Bunny had these dishes as her fancy dishes for holidays and big family dinners. And this is what she would serve Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner on every year. And I used to stare at those dishes. She had them in a hutch in her dining room in the house that my sister Kathleen lives in. And I can just remember those. She would dust them and they just sat up there, and I love them. They are so nostalgic for me. So I have decided that I want to collect these Falstaff brown drip dishes. And I was lucky enough to find some on Facebook Marketplace that I picked up. And it was just some cups and saucers and bread and butter plates and some bowls. But I am now going to start collecting enough so that I can serve Thanksgiving dinner to my kids on those dishes. And I think I'm going to go back and purchase a few of those dinner plates this week. I didn't purchase any on the day I was there, but because I was heading out to pick the Facebook Marketplace package up, and I wasn't sure what was in it. Okay, look at this gorgeous vase. That hull vase is stunning. I loved all of these vases, and they made such a statement all together. You may hear Phoebe snoring in the background. She usually is when I'm recording a video. Isn't that planter stunning though, with that kind of chartreuse green and the pink base? Lovely. All of those things in that booth were gorgeous. And then here's some beautiful clear glass. These mantle lusters were gorgeous. And I think that they will look absolutely stunning on my sister Patty's fireplace mantle. I could see them with the flickering candle in them, absolutely beautiful. Although those may have been electrified, I'm not sure. Then of course the blue and white Delft, another thing that I am always drawn to. And some clear blue glass. It makes such an impact when you have all of those pieces kind of clustered together. And then all of these steins with the Toby mug right here. The Toby mugs are fun because sometimes the handles are made to look like something that would be appropriate for whatever the person is that's represented by that Toby mug. Now, I don't know who that was or who that was supposed to be. That might have just been a generic mug, but sometimes you'll have like a William Shakespeare Toby mug or a Headless Horseman Toby mug or something like that. Okay, here's an example of that. This is a Benjamin Franklin Toby mug, and it has the quill pen, the feather pen, as the handle for that Toby mug. They're so fun to look at. Not something that I collect, but it is a fun collection to have. And these this cream and sugar set with the silhouettes was so pretty. It's the old Curiosity Shop in the green and white. I love that color green. I believe this booth is my friend Kim from the Painted Cottage. I believe this is her booth. She has a very distinctive style. And by the way, I did end up giving her that really pretty chippy white painted iron wall sconce, and she loved it. It was so her style. I just couldn't hang on to it in good conscience. I knew it would be gorgeous in her house, and it was just something that seemed so perfectly Kim. If I can remember, I will link the video where I shared that in the iCards above. And she so generously gifted me with a little brown and tan stoneware pitcher, which is perfect for me. Here's some more beautiful dishware in those gorgeous fall colors. In my house, my fall decorating is really about bringing in those colors. So I do it through the use of things you find in nature, in dishes, excuse me, candles. I do have some pretty velvet pumpkins that I bring out. And when we get home, I'm going to share with you how I've taken the inspiration that I'm gaining by visiting these shops and translating that into my own decor. So stay tuned to the end for some fall decorating. That platter is absolutely beautiful. I love those colors. Well, I've had a great time out and about checking out all of my favorite antique and vintage stores for some fall inspiration, and there was plenty to be had. So now it's time to get back in the car and head on home and turn that inspiration into some creativity in my own home and start to sprinkle the seeds of autumn all around my own house. Won't you join me? Let's go. Let's start out with a fall craft project. All right, here's a look at what I have for my pine cone garland. I bought 3 bags of these mini pine cones at Hobby Lobby. I don't know exactly how many I'll need, but I didn't want to run out, and so they had 3 there, and I bought 3. There's a sneak peek at one of my future projects. I have some twine, just burlap twine. I've got my glue sticks, my hot glue gun, a pair of scissors, and then over here is the twine that I'm going to glue the pine cones to, and I have tied a simple loop on each end of this so that I can hang the garland when I'm done. So I'm going to get started and see how it goes. It looks to be a kind of tedious project, so excuse me, I think I'll put on a good movie, a fall movie, and sit down and get working. So what this entails is simply gluing these pine cones to this twine and then hanging it, in front of a fireplace or something. And as I said before, it is rather tedious work, but it didn't take terribly long for me to finish it. And I simply put on a good fall movie and sat down and fired up my glue gun and got to gluing these pine cones on. Now, I saw this originally on Instagram in a post by an Instagrammer named Sincerely Marie. And if I can find that picture again, I will stick it right here on the screen so you can see what hers looked like, and then compare it to mine, which hopefully hers is beautiful. So I don't know how beautiful mine will be, but I'm hoping it will turn out nice enough for me to actually hang up in my house. So I'm just going to continue to glue and string these pine cones. Okay, here's where I've gotten so far. I am about halfway through, and I've used about 1.5 bags of the pine cones. So hopefully I have enough. Now, I have this much more to go, which seems like a lot, and I don't know that I have that many pine cones. So I may be having to make an emergency trip back to Hobby Lobby before all is said and done. But that's what I've got left for the pine cones, and then 1 full bag. So I'm going to keep on going. All right, here is a look at the finished product. I got this beautiful frayed velvet ribbon from Hobby Lobby as well. And in all transparency, I am a few handfuls short of pine cones. So I am going to have to go back to Hobby Lobby and get a few more. I sort of spread them out at the end, so I have some spots on the right-hand side. You can see some bare spots that I need to fill in, but once I fill those in, I think it will be gorgeous. And overall, I am very, very pleased with the way that turned out. And it really didn't take that much. It didn't take a lot of effort. It just was a little bit tedious. But as I said, I put on a movie and just enjoyed myself. So I'm very happy with that result. And now that I have that up, let me take you around and show you some ways in which I have added some fall touches to my home. And some of this was inspired by my trip today. This set of teacups I actually got at the Habitat for Humanity Restore. They are beautiful. I believe they are spode. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I will put on the screen the name of the pattern and the maker. I just love the fall colors in them. And then I have a stoneware crock tucked back in there with some pheasant feathers. And I did find that stoneware crock at Goodwill of all places. And then I have those beautiful books, which I got off of Instagram. My little dog figurines. I'm a sucker for dog figurines. And then you can see I just added some natural elements. Well, these are actually faux natural elements, but Bittersweet, I don't think grows down here in the South. So I had to get the faux version of it. But I can remember as a little girl going out with my mom to cut down bittersweet in the woods to make for wreaths and things in the fall. And it was so fun. It grows along like stone walls, and actually it's kind of an invasive vine if it gets going, and it will choke out other trees, but it is so pretty. And I did find that big giant pine cone on the path behind our house. Over here, I have just some more faux flowers, or faux, I guess that you call it greenery, even though it's kind of orange. And then you can see that I have underneath it that beautiful tray that I thrifted, and I shared that in a haul a couple of weeks back. And then some fall leaves that Trudy found. They were the first fall leaves that she found. They've sort of dried up and turned brown, but I thought it was fun to have them there on that tray. The table runner that I have over top of the dresser was a gift from my mom. And I love the colors there. It's just about bringing in those autumn tones. A lot of the decor in my house has those autumn tones in it, and I keep it up year round because those are some of my favorite colors. Now, what I'm showing you is a chair without any pillows. So I need to either make some pillow covers for those chairs that are kind of fall colored, or purchase some. What I really would love to have are some round ruched velvet pillows to go there in kind of a burnt orange. I think that would be so pretty. So I'm on the hunt for those. All right, this little teapot I found at my local thrift store. Is it not adorable? This is what I was talking about when I said that teapot with the teddy bear on the chair reminded me of something I had thrifted, and this was it. These are some little bears having a picnic. And as you can see, it's very small. It's a very petite teapot, and the top comes off, and it is indeed an actual teapot. It does not get much cuter than that. And then this is also one of my favorite things, my mason jar wax warmer. I love this wax warmer. Trudy got me that as a gift, and it's from Walmart. It's Better Homes and Garden brand, and I absolutely love it. And I feel much better about leaving a wax warmer going and unattended than I do about a candle. So I love that thing. In fact, the other day, the little light bulb in it burnt out and we couldn't use it, and it was almost like an emergency. I had to hop immediately on Amazon to order the light bulb replacement light bulbs for it. I tried to find them at Publix, but they didn't have what I needed. Over in my kitchen, I have this little tin, and it has the different seasons on each side. So I just turned it around so that the autumn scene was facing forward. And then I thrifted for 10 cents that little pottery clock. My sister Kathleen and I have a thing for miniatures. So I was immediately smitten by this clock and had to have it. And I thought 10 cents was not too bad a price. So that's all I have over there on top of my coffee maker. And then of course year round, I leave out my glass jars with all my cookie cutters in it. I love the copper ones. They just bring a little fall element to things. And there's my Bites on a Board book. It's kind of hidden by my Susan Branch Autumn book. And I have those copper mugs. Copper is such a fall metal to me. And my Nora Fleming tray. And of course, since we are in the South, we have the football charm there, because in the fall, football is king in the South. And there's that Bites on a Board book. Beautiful cover to that book. Those figs and the plum colors, absolutely gorgeous. Really lovely book. And those cutting boards, the big giant cutting board was a gift that I gave to Trudy for Christmas last year. It's from J.K. Adams, which is a Vermont company. And they make the most beautiful cutting boards. Now they're a bit of a splurge, but they're worth every penny. There's an overview. I have a crock always on my countertop filled with my rolling pin collection and my wooden spoons. And that copper tea kettle I also thrifted. I love the blue and white ceramic handle on that copper tea kettle. I think it looks so pretty against the copper. And I was thinking that that just looked a little too bare, so I ran out. I didn't run out. I actually went in the other room and picked up this tray that I had recently thrifted. I haven't even shared it in a haul yet, and I thought it was the perfect little pop of color behind that copper tea kettle. I love toll trays, and I thought the green on this was just gorgeous. And here in the South, there's a lot of greens still in fall, so I thought the color was perfect. Now this candle is pink, not exactly fall, but it has a delicious scent, and I hadn't burned it down yet, so I kept it out. But I did put it on this darling little plate. A wonderful viewer and friend of the channel from England sent me 2 of those little plates. I think they are just adorable and has the most beautiful fall toned flowers all around the edge of it. All of the things here stay on my counter year-round. And there's the second one of those little plates. I have it tucked back behind my twine holder. That little rooster I thrifted as well. I think he was 50 cents. And I always have a platter out, and I switch it out seasonally. So this is my fall platter, and that is a platter that I thrifted as well. So much of my decor has come from thrift stores or vintage markets or antique stores. I love to rescue secondhand things, and they bring back such wonderful memories. I had an absolutely idyllic childhood growing up in Vermont, and so I love to surround me with things that remind me of those wonderful childhood memories. And that is really, truly what I love so much about thrifting. It's just all of the memories that come back when you find an item that you remember from your childhood. It gives you just such warm feelings. In fact, I actually did a video all about the reasons why I thrift, and I will try to remember to link that video as well. One thing that I also change out seasonally is the towel that I have hanging on my oven door. And this is a beautiful Williams-Sonoma dish towel that I thrifted from Goodwill maybe 2 years ago, or a year and a half or so. And then over here, as we head into the dining area of our downstairs, we have this wooden wine rack. And a lot of these things stay the same. I always have my collection of vintage cookbooks there and my plants. I did thrift that little tiny watercolor. I love that picture. And then in the back, you can see a dragonfly card. That's something my mom made for me, and I love the colors on it, so I keep that out year round. And then in another little thrifted crock, I have my butterscotch handled knives, which were a gift from my mother. And then normally I have my beautiful Williams-Sonoma tea set that my mom gave me out, but it has kind of a more springy and summery look to it. So I swapped it out for these beautiful brown drip cream and sugar set and this brown teapot. Now these, the creamer and sugar was part of the brown drip lot that I purchased off of Facebook Marketplace. And I will be sharing a whole bunch of things that I have gathered over the last month in my next video. I'll be doing a haul, and I have some really fun things to share with you, including that set of brown drip dishes. On my table, I have my Nora Fleming salt and pepper shakers with the pumpkin pie slice and that beautiful yellow and green bowl I thrifted for just a couple of dollars, and I just keep it filled with fruit on the table, just very simple. Those white candlesticks I got at the French Mercantile. And I change out the color of my candles. I have a beautiful rust-colored candle in there now. All right, another touch of fall that I've added is right here on this little desk that we have at the front entryway of our house. I thrifted that set of encyclopedias, and all I did was simply tie a brown satin bow around it and stick in a couple of pheasant feathers. I have a simple white pitcher with some dried florals in it. And again, you won't see a lot of fall specific decor in my house. I like to bring in the feeling of fall through things like outside elements, you know, greenery, things, pumpkins, things that you would that are growing in nature in the fall, or that you'd find in nature in the fall, and then dishware and just a color palette. And here's a nod to my sister Patty, the brass candlesticks with the glass shade over them. She loves that look, and it's gorgeous in her house, and I love it as well. I thought those blue candlesticks, I like blue in the fall. To me, blue is can be a fall and winter color as well. So I have my blue candlesticks there underneath those hurricane glasses. And then both of these little brass birds I thrifted, the quail and the owl. I would love to get a set of brass pheasants. My sister Patty has a set, and they're beautiful, and I'm always on the hunt for one. Here we are in the front room. Now, I was saying that I do like blue for fall, and these pillow covers I found that fabric at the thrift store for $1, and I was able to make these 2 pillowcases or pillow covers out of it. In fact, I have enough, I could probably make 2 or 3 more pillow covers, but I needed some pillows on that couch, so I was practicing my sewing skills, and I will be doing a video about easy envelope pillow covers, maybe like a little tutorial. Not that I'm any professional seamstress, but it's an easy project anyone can do. And then here on my ottoman, I just have a simple tray with some of those beautiful satin pumpkins that we sell in our online store in a green and champagne color. And then I just have a brass bucket with my plant in it. Very simple, but I think so pretty. And then the reddish colored dried greenery that you see in there is from the French Mercantile. And then just a few final touches of fall. This gorgeous champagne velvet pumpkin sits atop a dresser tray with some dried leaves underneath it and a very neutral palette. And I think that is also very, very pretty. Understated, but lovely and elegant. And then I have this beautiful Weller vase that I thrifted years ago. It's so beautiful. The color palette on that vase is absolutely stunning. And I think it looks so pretty with some more of those dried florals in it. And I just have that on my bedside table. I hope you enjoyed looking at some of these fall touches in my home. And now, before we end this video, I want to leave you with a little look at Hazel. We're trying to teach Hazel to ring this bell to go out. Outside! There you go. But so far, she's taught me to ring it. You gonna go outside, Hazel? Yeah? All your toys are on the back porch, aren't they? There's her bunny. Actually, I think it's a sheep. All right, Hazel, go play. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, getting out and getting some inspiration, and I hope you enjoyed seeing how I have brought some fall decor and inspiration and colors into my own home. I know I certainly enjoyed sharing it with you. My sisters and I appreciate each and every one of you. We thank you for all of your comments and your support of our channel. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for today. And until the next video, bye-bye. Home tour. I really decorate mostly the downstairs in my home, and I'm starting right here in my kitchen. And as you can see, I have my gorgeous fall apron hanging on my pantry door. I thrifted that apron this summer, and I knew it would be perfect for fall. On the counters, which I do like to keep decorated minimally, I have that beautiful ceramic pumpkin. I actually got that at Walmart a few years ago. It's from Better Homes and Gardens. My Nora Fleming tray with our football charm on it, because in the South, in the fall, football is king. And then I have this beautiful Cooking French book, which just has gorgeous fall tones and a fall feel to it. I got that at the Goodwill bins, believe it or not. And my copper Moscow mule mugs. And then here I just have my vintage kitchen utensils in this gorgeous crock. I love this big crock on the counter. I think it looks so pretty with those rolling pins and other utensils in it. On my stovetop, I have that beautiful copper kettle, which I did thrift as well. And I love that copper kettle. I think I paid like $4 for it. And that beautiful fall tray in the back. And then the only other decor I have is over here on the other side of the counter. I have those mushroom salt and pepper shakers that I got at Goodwill because, you know, mushrooms are kind of fall-esque, I think. You see a lot of mushrooms in fall decor, especially now. And then this beautiful pecan pie dish that I recently thrifted. I love that. I have a cherry pie one as well. I'd love to collect a pumpkin one if I could find it. And then over here on my stove, I have those beautiful tea towels that I thrifted at Goodwill. They are originally from Williams-Sonoma, and I think they are absolutely beautiful. I love the colors and that beautiful bird and fruit pattern. So here's an overview of what my back counter looks like. And as I said, I do like to keep it kind of minimal in terms of decor because we do cook a lot in this kitchen. And my daughter loves to cook and bake, and I love to cook. So I like to keep it as clean as I can. Over here, I have another crock, which we use to put our wine bottle in and catch the drips if there were to be any. And then I have this really pretty copper watering can that I just got recently at Walmart, of all places. I absolutely love it. And then these planters are my basil and thyme that I brought in from the back porch. I thrifted those planters, a while ago, many months ago actually, for a couple dollars each, and I think they are so pretty. And then of course I have my gratitude or grace picture up there and my little spice rack. But look how pretty these planters are. They have little cherubs on them. And then I have those herbs right there in the kitchen at the ready whenever I need them. And that's essentially all of the decor that I have on my kitchen. I did pull out my little ghost sponge holder. It's probably a bit too early for Halloween, but he's so darn cute, I couldn't resist. And then I have a Bath and Body Works fall candle burning. I believe that one is Leaves, and it smells so, so good. But my newest discovery in the candle department is their blueberry maple pancakes candle, or blueberry maple waffles. It's fabulous. Over here on our wine rack, I just have a few little items. I have this beautiful terracotta teapot sitting on top of these little plates that a viewer, Deborah, sent me all the way from England, and I absolutely love them. I thrifted that little picture, and then I purchased the little spaniel figurine from Stone Cottage Home, who also has a YouTube channel, and she also has an online store. And I've been wanting one of those forever. That white pumpkin is from the Dollar Tree several years ago. And then lastly, over in the corner, I have a beautiful stoneware platter propped up on an easel behind my whatever kind of plant that is. Looks like Swiss cheese almost. A Monstera plant maybe, I think. On my table, I have just very minimal decor, but I think it's really pretty. The wooden placemat I use as a base, and I thrifted that. I have my Nora Fleming salt and pepper shakers with the pumpkin charm in them, some brass candlesticks in the shape of leaves, and that kind of mid-century modern basket holding some cloth napkins. There's Hazel after her haircut. Over here on this desk, again, not a ton of decor, but just a few items to remind us that it's fall and the seasons are changing. That brass quail I thrifted from Goodwill probably a year and a half ago, I'd say. Those beautiful old books I purchased from on Instagram from 1100 West is the account. She has beautiful things. And that gorgeous painting was a Facebook Marketplace find probably 4 years ago. And then, of course, I have my miniature tea set that I just love. So there's a quick look at that desk. And then around the corner from my desk is a little side table with some almost all thrifted items on that. Those little paintings above it were thrifted. That basket I thrifted, and I put some dried florals that I got last year from Joann Fabrics in there. I did purchase that twig ball from the French Mercantile here in Somerville last year, and I did a video on that, so I'll try to link that if I can. That painting and that little clay house I thrifted as well, and that I believe is a tea light holder. The top of that little house comes off. And I just think that corner looks so pretty. I love all the colors in there. In front of my fireplace, I just have a collection of brass planters with some house plants in them. And that's a brass vase in the background. And then those really cool mid-century modern brass deer. We got those at a local antique store here in town. That's an antique popcorn popper you see hanging on the side of my fireplace. And then panning around from there, I switched out the pillows that were on my blue chairs, the blue and white cushions, for these fall pillows that I thrifted for 99 cents each, I think. Something crazy like that. And I will link the video, I think, where I showed those. But aren't they beautiful? Those beautiful, rich fall colors. Those two ruby red lamps we purchased at that same antique store where we got the brass deer, and then the floral arrangement is from another shop in town. Now, this is real life, so panning over to my couch, you can see I have those beautiful toile not toile, but they're a kind of a French country scene on those pillows, which were a Facebook marketplace find. But I have those brown couch covers because, of course, we have dogs and they do sit on the furniture. And those are from Orvis. This is not sponsored by Orvis, but I'm telling you, if you have dogs and you are looking for something to cover your furniture that is high quality, I cannot recommend these enough. They have a gripper underneath so they stay put on your couch, and they're extremely soft. We purchased them in just that brown tweed. That's sort of a classic color, but I think they come in several other colors and patterns. There's a close-up look at those pillows. And then over here, I simply placed another one of my Dollar Tree pumpkins on top of a stack of books and a moody piece of artwork with those fall colors. Sometimes less is more, and that's hard for me to say as a maximalist, but sometimes it really is. And that oil painting was one of my first thrifted finds. I found that at Goodwill years ago. Over here on this piece of furniture, which was the first antique piece of furniture that my parents ever bought as a married couple, I just have a candle from Antique Candle Company with a beautiful little fall bittersweet candle ring around it, some more dried florals, and some pumpkin colored candles, or really squash colored candles. And then in the front room, and there's Phoebe looking out her window, I have just a few simple touches. That gorgeous mustard colored blanket that I adore. We got that at that same store where we got the dried florals. It's called Cotton Down South, and it's here in Somerville. And then on the ottoman, we have a, excuse me, an arrangement, which I'll show you in just a second, but I'm panning around to show you. My couch really stays like that year round, but this beautiful velvet pumpkin is from the French Mercantile. I got that last year half off after the season was over. And then these brass deer are my newest thrift find. I got those at a yard sale recently, and they were $8 for the pair. I absolutely love them. And then this is a framed card. That's a card my mom sent me a couple years ago, and I loved it. So I put it in a frame, and I bring it out in the fall. And then tucked back behind it is another Dollar Tree pumpkin. I said mushrooms reminded me of fall. I do love a good mushroom. And there's another look at the room and Phoebe. And then on the ottoman is a basket and an arrangement of dried florals and some more velvet pumpkins. I just love those colors. There's something about that champagne and then the kind of antique-y gold color and the chocolate brown. Just beautiful. And that is the front room of my house. You may remember a few months ago, I thrifted this beautiful lamp. I think it was my thrift find of the month one month. And then this really cute needlepoint stool. And then finally, I don't do a whole lot in the bedroom, but I do switch out some of our blankets and pillows to bring a fall feel into the bedroom. This gorgeous blanket at the foot of the bed is from TJ Maxx. I got that, I think, last year or maybe the year before. And the same with that beautiful velvet pillow. Oh, Phoebe, I think nope, that's Hazel. She's getting ready to bark, of course. And then really the rest of the room stays pretty much the same the year round. I have a stack of cozy fall blankets. And my bedding is, of course, from Brooklinen, which is one of my most favorite bedding companies. There's a close-up of that pretty blanket. And that pillow I love because it has maple leaves on it, which of course remind me of Vermont. And then the last little bit of decor in the bedroom is on my desk. There is my collection of Beatrix Potter books held up with that little bookend with this little mouse on it. The nun figurine, which I thought was a planter, but my mom and another viewer reminded me or informed me that that is actually for holy water. And then over here on the bureau, I have one more velvet pumpkin sitting on some dried florals and leaves on top of a gorgeous vintage bureau dresser mirror, whatever those are called. I'm not sure. I know there's a name for it, but it's a really gorgeous. It may even be antique actually. It belonged to Truey's grandmother. And that's really it for what I've done so far in my house for fall. I hope you enjoyed this fall home tour, seeing the little touches of fall that I have throughout my house. And now we have our Relatively Refined segment where we share our viewers' thrifted treasures. Today's treasure comes from our viewer Debbie, who started thrifting as a young, financially challenged military wife. She was living far from home, and the only things that she could afford were at yard sales and thrift stores. But over time, her home has become filled and curated with gorgeous items from her many military postings, some inherited pieces, and some new to me pieces. Today, she is sharing something she found recently at her local Goodwill in Huntsville, Alabama. The first thing she found was the sugar bowl with no lid. It was $1.99. She thought it would make a cute decor piece, so she stuck it in her buggy, only to find the lid just down the aisle a bit, not priced separately. Further down the aisle, she found the creamer, and on the next aisle, the coffee pot. The creamer was also $1.99, and the coffee pot was $5.99. When she looked them up on eBay, to purchase that same set would have cost her $140. She spent less than $10. In fact, several people in the store admired the items in her buggy, and the woman at the checkout counter told her that they were well worth the money. And indeed, Debbie, they were. Thank you so much for sharing these beautiful treasures. If you would like us to feature your thrifted treasures in one of our videos, simply send a picture of the item and a brief story in an email to the address on the screen, and we would be happy to feature them in an upcoming video. All right, everyone, thank you so much for sticking with us. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, like it, share it with anyone you think who might enjoy the content, and subscribe if you haven't. We are almost to 5,000 subscribers, and we're going to do a fun giveaway. So help us get there, and we will see you in the next video.
Hi everyone,
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Relatively Refined. My name is Patty, and I am so glad you stopped by. In today's video, you're going to watch this summer girl start to embrace fall. Stick around.
All right, everyone. I just had my furnace cleaned and inspected for the heating season that is right around the corner. And I am here waiting for my pool to be closed. They will be coming today. So I feel like that is a sign that I need to make some changes. And I'll say it. I've said it once. I've said it 100 times. I'm a summer girl. I really love summer, and I hang on probably way too long. I definitely am not one that starts fall decorating early, but we're at the end of September. Like I said, my pool is getting closed today. My furnace was just cleaned and inspected. So I guess we're going to go with this. So I have these hydrangea napkins that I absolutely love. This adorable periwinkle jar candle, and this super cute ramekin that my sister Paula sent me from the Nostalgic Wick. I think I like the brass candlesticks. Those are Baldwin brass. but maybe the green is summer. I was really into blue and green this summer. And my dried hydrangea and the blue vase, I'll see if I can do better. I just put these up. I had these wall sconces. I've had them for a minute and I finally got them up on the wall. So I'll do something with those. Maybe I'll put a candle in those for fall. So I'm gonna try to tackle this little area today and see what I can do to make it look a little bit more seasonally appropriate, shall we? Okay, before I get putting some things around, I am gonna slice into this bread. I just made 2 loaves of sourdough this morning. And this sprig of rosemary, which looks so artsy right here, I actually used some last night and I had 1 stalk left over. I meant to put it in the compost, but I'm just gonna leave it there because it's so artsy. And I brewed a pot of tea. I am nearly half done with it. It's just a rainy, awful day. So I'm gonna have a slice of bread and some tea. And I have pulled out some fall items that I'm just gonna be doing some quick swaps with. I've got some taper candles. I love Mulhollow. I have this. This is the potpourri, the orange cinnamon potpourri, orange spice potpourri that I had last year. I just put it in a Ziploc baggie and it still smells fabulous. And then I had some other candles that were in my stash. I think some I thrifted. So that's pretty much, oh, and I have a table runner that I will be looking to put out. So my kitchen I like to do in more of a homey, country, New England feel. And then the rest of my house is a little bit more formal. So anyway, I'm gonna get going on that. But first things first, tea and bread.
Okay, so I have this gorgeous orange mum and I am swapping out my hydrangea and putting it in this nice ironstone tureen base. And I'm just gonna put that in the center of my hunt board like that. Now, these green candles, I think I'm gonna swap these out. I did a green and blue summer theme, but I'm also gonna put some different candles in the top in these sconces. And I think I have just the right color. I love this squash color. It really plays off of this. And I think up here on the wall, this will be perfect if I can get them straight. I'm not sure. I'll have to play around with that. Definitely going to need to play around with that. There's that. The lighting is terrible today. It is pitch dark. I have every light on and a ring light, and it still is not enough. So I have these Mulhollow tapers in the brass candlesticks, and I might put a hurricane over these. And I can see this is crooked. Okay, there's that.
Okay, so I have been playing around with this a little bit, and I decided I do like the candle with the hurricane. And the 2 of them over here were a little bit crowded. So I'll show you where I put the other one. And I found this little orange, my daughter had a candle. She bought a candle at TJ Maxx, I think, and it was in this. It had a nice lid. And I just got the, froze the candle, popped it out, and I just put some pine cones in it. And the lid is almost like a coaster, but smaller. And I like to use these little coasters that you see from time to time, even though this is a candle lid. I like to use it to rest my snuffer on because you can see the wax that gets all over it. It was the lid to this. And I just flipped it over and I'm using it to rest that on. So I'm pretty happy with how this came out. Like I said, I'll show you where the other one went. And I love the candles in here. And I know they don't look straight. I I need to put some aluminum foil in there to balance it out. It's just because there is some residual wax in the candle holders that are causing it to do that. These are great. These are a brass set that I thrifted. So anyway, that's my hunt board. I don't love the placemat on it, but I just get so nervous about things leaving water stains. So simple. I just wanted to show you what I did with the other candle and what I did with some of the things that were on the hunt board. So this piece of furniture I bought at an antique store last year. And do you ever have those pieces of furniture that you wish you had like 6 of because it just looks good no matter where I put it? So this was in my dining room and I moved it here. It will be somewhat temporary because my Christmas tree will be here, but then it will come back because I absolutely love this piece. And I do like to have a little bit of black in each room. So on this piece, I have the hydrangea in the thrifted vase, I guess you could say. You can't put water in because it has cutouts in it, but it has that nice chinoiserie look, which is so lovely with hydrangea. I have it just stacked on some books. And there is that other brass candlestick with the beeswax candle. I think the darker color is really nice in here. And this is just a thrifted lamp, brass, which I love. And then this coaster is perfect also for a snuffer. You could put a bottle of wine, you can put a glass, whatever. I just like to leave that there. And of course, everything looks so good with that beautiful print that Judy sent me. I think it's just perfect.
Okay, I have moved on to my table and let's see, I can turn it around in just a sec. But I wanted to show you, I like to keep some fruit on the table. Now this time of year we have fresh picked apples. I do not have any right now. I am going this weekend. But what I do have in abundance are pears from our pear tree, and they're really good, but they are not pretty. This is what they look like. They're all mottled and they have lots of spots on them. I mean, that's just not, and this is honestly one of the prettier ones that I just grabbed. They taste delicious and we do eat them, but I don't know that it's worthy of a centerpiece. Plus they are getting soft, so I'm afraid I'm going to have fruit flies. Let me turn you around and show you what I got going on. This is the faux fruit. These are just apples. They're about the same color as my pears, but you can see not really something you'd want to show off. So I just went with this table runner in these nice muted taupe and cream. And I have black candlesticks and just a basket of fruit. Super simple, colonial. I need to get candles for these. These are relatively tall candlesticks. So I need to get shorter candles. Otherwise it's just too tall. The only candles I have are tall. So a tall candlestick with a tall candle is just going to be ridiculous for this table. So I need to go to the store now and get some shorter tapers. I really like the Mulhollow beeswax ones.
I did end up going to get some candles and I was going to get beeswax, but I saw this ivory color and I just thought it was really, really pretty and might be appropriate to carry over into Christmas. So I decided to go with that instead of the darker beeswax. I also did, my husband and son went apple picking and I do have fresh apples, but honestly, I love the color of these fake ones so much, I decided to leave them. And the other ones I will just eat out of the bag or cook up in applesauce or apple pie. So this is the way my table looks for, until probably end of October when I might add a little bit of Halloween touches to it, but I love this.
I'm going to swap out this awesome honey pear potpourri for this orange spice potpourri. I think this has a nice warm fall scent and look to it. And I'll save this and I'll bring this back out after Christmas. Okay, well here is that potpourri, easy peasy switch. I'm just going to pop this where the other potpourri was and we'll be ready for fall.
I also did a little bit of rearranging in this corner of my dining room. I ended up picking some more flowers before they go, more zinnias. And I have my pheasants have made their appearance. I've got to tighten this up, shore it up, but I did a little bit of rearranging. I do like a little bit of pop of black in every room. So I have this, I thrifted this, or if you remember, it's a bouillotte lamp. And I love that it is black and gold. And so it works with this federal style mirror. And my pheasants. And then of course I love these candlesticks with hurricanes, as you saw on my mantle. This one is just a little brass one, and I think it's so pretty. So obviously this plate is not working and I got to clean it up, but I just needed something quickly to protect the bottom. I have other options, but originally I had a big mum there, which looked gorgeous, but I needed to get the mum outside to get some sun. So I should have swapped that plate out. Now it's bothering me, but I think you'll get the idea. And I moved this pillow down here. This was actually on my bed, and I love this velvet pillow cover. I got this at TJ Maxx. It's made in Italy, and it is the nicest pillow cover. I got it on clearance, and I just have a down insert in there. And like I said, this was on my bed, and I just brought it down because I love this shade of orange, and just a little bit of color, a little bit of fall in this room, I think is perfect. And that's really it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Relatively Refined. My name is Paula. Well, in today's video, you're going to be hearing from myself as well as my two sisters, Patty and Kathleen. We are going to be doing a fall tablescape video to give you some inspiration for your fall tablescape. Each of us will design a table, and actually I'm going to be designing two because I couldn't decide. And since I'm a maximalist and have plenty of stuff, it was no problem to create two tablescapes. But each of us will be developing a tablescape in our own unique personal style, using things that we already have on hand, most of which has been thrifted. So stay tuned for a fun video filled to the brim with fall inspiration.
To start my fall tablescape, I took everything out of this sweet little antique stand that I keep most of my decorations in, candles and things like that. So I pulled them all out and I put everything on the table that I was considering using when thinking about my fall tablescape, especially the centerpiece. I knew I was going to have a chili party, so which is somewhat of a casual affair. So I was just trying to decide what pieces I would anchor my tablescape in. So I had choices. I had this very long breadboard, antique breadboard. I had another piece of wood that was kind of interesting. I had various candles and candle holders, including this round one. And I ended up with thinking about using these mushroom candle holders, and that's what I decided on. So here is the table all set for a chili party for 6. So the first thing I did was got rid of my white summery table runner and used this heavier gray striped one that my daughter brought back from Mexico. Here I decided to use that interesting piece of wood to keep these little plates that I recently thrifted. They are Fire King milk glass plates that will be used for the cornbread or regular bread. And the little white bowls will be for the fixings, sour cream, cheese, all the things you might put on chili. You can see in the middle, my centerpiece was really anchored on both sides by those very interesting mushroom candle holders, really votive holders. And I'll show it closer up in just a minute. Simple place setting, a chili bowl, a charger. These are some Orvis beer glasses that I had thrifted, along with a pitcher for water or beer. And like I said, a chili party is really somewhat casual, so I wanted to have a little bit of a casual look to it. There is one of the gold mushroom candles. Those are new. I purchased those at TJ Maxx. I just couldn't resist. And then I decided on using that antique breadboard and just filling it with with live acorns. At first I lined it with that reindeer moss. And then I just put little miniature pieces. I had picked up a whole bag at an estate sale of fall decor, little peaches and apples and faux leaves. The acorns are real. I threw in a couple of those cute little toadstool mushrooms that I had. And then I was able to pick up a box of 6 of these candles in the little glass container for $5. So that's really the whole centerpiece. There's not a variation of height, which will be nice for us to be able to talk across the table. But it gives off a beautiful glow with those 6 candles. And I also intertwined some of the little twinkle lights. And on the other side is another one of those. I picked up 2 of those mushroom candle holders. And there is in what looks like a kind of a formal soup pot, or tureen, but that is going to be for the chili. And sometimes I like to mix more casual with a little more formal. I only had 4 of the Orvis glasses, so the other 2 place settings are also some thrifted pieces, and those are Simon Pierce goblets, which I was able to pick up, I believe, on Facebook Marketplace. The napkins, everything is a very neutral tone. The brown, the gray table runner, the brown charger, the sort of off-white dishware that is our everyday dishware, and the napkins are kind of wheat colored with a gold stripe. And then the bread plates have that wheat design on them in gold. So it's really a very neutral palette, and just a little bit of color in the centerpiece with the various little elements of fall, whether it be those little toadstools or some faux fruit, small apples and pears and things like that. So I'm pleased. I think it came together. I used what I had and put together what I think is sort of a casual dinner party for 6 to have some chili. And I am going to include in the description a recipe for my absolutely favorite chili recipe, which, being from Vermont, it does use maple syrup. It's a turkey maple chili, which is absolutely fantastic. Perfect for a fall gathering.
In anticipation of this table setting, I started gathering a few tabletop items and stashing them in my sitting room, because that is a room that we don't use very often, and so I can sort of put things there as I come across them and they won't be in the way. I tried to look for things that had warm tones. I really love these pheasants. They are metal. I don't know that they're brass. I ended up painting them, and they are actually salt and pepper shakers. And I also found these, I have a lot of napkins in these nice sort of oat color and taupe and black. So I pulled those out.
And then I started looking through candles. I keep this basket of candles in a drawer in my kitchen. And I love the fall colors. These orange ones I actually just picked up at a rummage sale, and they match my sweater. That's what I was showing you. I really love this color, but I wasn't sure it really went with anything I had there. Maybe with those colors, but I really like this orange with blue, so I may not use those. I'll think about it. And then I have this lovely mole hollow candle and some beeswax candle, and then sort of that brown colored one. And the Friendly Village plates, I was so excited to pull those out and use them. I just covet these, and I have so very few. I only have 4 teacups and saucers, but when I looked at them, I really, you're not going to believe this, but to me that is not fall. That is spring. Those are sugar maples, and the melted snow on the ground is just not fall. You can see the bare trees, and while the colors may be fall-like, I just can't see anything but spring. That is March in New England, particularly here in Vermont with those leafless sugar maples. I envision sap buckets on them. So I'm just going to play around with some different color combinations. I thought maybe if I covered the picture, I could get away with it. I love this Johnson Brothers teacup and saucer plate. It's one of my favorites. I love the geometric design and the simplicity of it. And I really like these. You probably, I don't know if you've been watching long enough, you'll remember I thrifted those turkey plates, and I love them. But I decided I should probably cover up the turkey because that would be much more Thanksgiving. So I'm just going to play around with some color combinations and see what I can come up with. I'll look at the candles and play around with them. And then I did pull out a few other things, little embellishments. I thrifted this big box of pine cones for $1.50, and I thought those might look good on the table. But ultimately, I decided that those just were for later in the season. We are in early September, and I'm just not feeling pine cones yet. And I also have these really pretty gold fruits. There's apples and pears, and I thought the apples might be nice for this time of year. But I think you'll see I don't end up using these. I take a little different direction, but I definitely pulled those out because I thought the colors were great. I like to start any tablescape video with an overview and a little bit about my thought process. So the look I was going for is a very traditional colonial look. My home is very traditional, and I wanted a classic New England early fall, late summer table with lots of muted creams and taupes and black to anchor it. Here is an overview of my table set for early fall. You know, no tablescape of mine would be complete without a candle and a hurricane glass. I love the way it elevates this beeswax candle and simple black candlestick. And I did incorporate these metal pheasants. Even though they're salt and pepper shakers, these will strictly be decorative. And my centerpiece is a very simple faux white pumpkin, which I hope to replace with a live one in a few weeks. But for now, it just sits atop a black cake stand. For some brown and some more New England colonial look, I opted for these Four Winds bowls. I love the way they look and the size.
Just love the look of beeswax candles burning. The table runner I use quite a lot. I love the taupe in cream with the black. And now you get a better look at the table in its entirety. For the actual place setting, I definitely wanted to mirror the colors in the rest of the tablescape. So I have cream and taupe and black. The cup and saucer on top is the Falstaff Heritage teacup and saucer, and I love how the sides of the teacup kind of look like a pumpkin, the way they have the facets like that. I just thought it was really a nice touch to have that for fall. And then underneath it I have the black napkin, which I think is a great way to anchor the table and to match the the candlesticks that are in the center. And I also needed it to cover the turkey on my sweet turkey salad plates. These are from Mayotte, and I actually thrifted them brand new in a box last year. They were in a box from TJ Maxx, and I absolutely love those. And the way the napkin covers the turkey is perfect. And then of course my base plate is one I use all the time. It is my Ralph Lauren, just simple white plate, and it's large enough that it almost looks like a charger. I'm also going to show you another option that I actually think I may like better, and I replaced the Falstaff cup and saucer with this Johnson Brothers set that is a little more petite, and because of that you can see more of the brown salad plate, and it also matches the bowl, the Johnson Brothers bowl that I have my tomatoes in on the end of the table. So that's just another option for setting the table. It elevates it a little bit with the pedestal base, and here it is in the table with the Johnson Brothers dishes. And this is back with the Falstaff. And there's the tomatoes in that Johnson Brothers rimmed soup bowl. I'm very happy with how this table setting turned out. It's exactly the look I was going for, which is a simple New England fall table. This is early fall, really late summer at my house, so I'm not really ready to pull out all the stops. And I think this makes a nice transition table. It's easy to pull apart when we eat dinner, and it incorporates all of the elements I love to see in a New England table. The blacks, the creams, the taupes. We have birds and tomatoes, which are some natural elements. And everything I have is just shopped from my home. Here's a little overview of my hunt board. Thank you so much for watching my fall tablescape.
All right, well, what I did was I, much like my sister Patty, went around my house and pulled together some items that I felt would be perfect for a fall tablescape. They don't necessarily all go together, and I probably won't use all of them, but I wanted to see what I had on hand that would evoke that cozy fall feeling when I put it out on my tablescape. So I'm going to pick and choose from these items and hopefully put together something that will be really beautiful. All right, well, as I mentioned in the introduction, I'm going to be doing two different tablescapes. I'm in my apron, so you know I mean business. The first tablescape that I'm going to do for you is one that is really sort of cottagecore themed. It is woodsy and floral with fruits and so forth, and just has a very cottagecore feeling to it. So let me go ahead and get started with our cottagecore tablescape. So I'm going to start first with the textiles, and I found these beautiful placemats the other day at the thrift store. And I thought they were 4 for $1, but it turns out there were 6 of them. So I got them 6 for $1. So I'll lay those down. And then because cottagecore is essentially like a layered look, and it has a lot to do with texture and pattern, I'm going to add a little bit of texture as I step off stage here. And I'm going to put down these rattan chargers. I just think the more layers you have, the more cottage-esque it is. And being a maximalist, I love layers. All right, so we've got our base. Now, let me go ahead and add the plates. These plates that I'm going to add, I also thrifted, and I got them at Goodwill for 59 cents each. Not 59 cents for all of them, but I'm back. 59 cents each. So these plates are a beautiful fall pattern with berries and fruits. Let me see if it's marked on the back. It is Dalton and Company. It's the Vermont pattern. So I'm going to layer these plates down. And then I'm going to add a second layer. And I'm going to use my beloved green transferware. Use this transferware that I absolutely love. And it just makes a nice little layer on here. And like I said, cottagecore is kind of a layered style. So that's the basis of the plates or the settings. Let me add the glassware. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, for the glassware, I'm going to use these beautiful vintage glasses that my sister Patty thrifted me. She thrifted a set of 8, and they're up on top of my cabinet up there, and they came in their own little caddy. And they have these beautiful gold and silver leaves on them. So I thought they would be perfect for fall. And then in the center of the table, I'm going to add these brass candlesticks that have leaves on them. And just a simple arrangement of dried flowers in a kind of a pottery crock. I think that gives it a very cottage feel. Now let me set around my flatware. I'm going to use my gold flatware just because I think it's so very fall. You know, the warm metals are ones that I like to use in the fall. And I did a video talking about different elements to thrift for in the fall, which I will link down below and in the iCards above. And one of the things that I like to thrift for are warm-toned metals. So this gold flatware falls into that category. All right, I'll go around here. Now, I think I'm setting the silverware correctly. I'm not Miss Manners, so don't come for me. However, I did go to Wellesley College for undergrad in Wellesley, Massachusetts, and Judith Martin, who is Miss Manners, is a Wellesley alum. So I have to keep my manners on to make sure I bring pride to Wellesley College. So there you have it, the finished product. Oh, no, you don't have it. Hang on one second. I have my napkins, and these are these really cute napkins that I stamped myself. And I included that in a video that I did probably a week and a half ago. So I will also link that. So these were an easy DIY project, and I'm going to add them in. And there we have it, our cottagecore tablescape. Okay, so now I'm going to do tablescape number 2, and this one has a vintage 70s vibe. And it's something that I really think is fun, and I love the colors. They're the classic autumnal colors in a 70s vibe. And I got the idea for it because I found this tablecloth at the thrift store the other day. Goodwill. I went in the evening to drop something off, and of course I had to go in and check it out. But this was there, and it was $1.99, and I thought, what great autumn colors. So let me spread it out. I've washed it all up. Now it's an oval shaped tablecloth, and I have a round table, but I think it'll work okay. We'll get this all on there. Get it all even. There we go. I love this plaid. To me, this screams like 70s, early 80s. All right, so we've got the base layer with our tablecloth. Then I'm going to add this really cool wooden placemat for some texture. I love this. This is 70s to me again. I love that, but that's going to hold our centerpiece spot. So let me get my chargers back. Hold on one second. For, again, some textures, we'll put down our chargers. And then I am a huge sucker for Japanese stoneware. I love Japanese stoneware. And so I'm going to use these really pretty Japanese stoneware plates with, again, the fall colors in them. I love the autumn colors. I have a lot of those colors in my house year round. So I'm always drawn to those plates because they usually are in those fall type colors. Then I'm going to add my amber glass glasses to the tablescape. I think these are called, or by the brand Whitehall maybe, or Libby's, I'm not sure. Anyway, I love them. They're nice and thick and chunky. I was talking with my sister Patty, and we decided that in the 70s, they really made things to last. They were sturdy. This Japanese stoneware is very, very sturdy. All right, we have that. Now we need our flatware. And again, I'm going to use the gold flatware just because I'm going to set these down till I get the napkins, because the warm colored metal tones really are what you want to use, because that's what fall is all about, making your house warm and cozy, bringing in those warm tones. Even though it's South Carolina today, it's still hot, unfortunately. We are all hoping for a little bit of cool weather to come our way. I mean, it doesn't have to be freezing, but, you know, maybe down in the 70s would be lovely. Let me set these here until I get my napkins. All right. I'm just going to use these kind of chunky checkered napkins in this brown color because, again, that's kind of a 70s color, that brown color. So I'll set those up. And then our last napkin here. All right. Now, let me bring out part of the centerpiece. You can hit pause, Neve, till I come back. Okay, to anchor the centerpiece, I'm going to use this really cool Treasure Craft. I guess it would be like a chip and dip or veggies and dip bowl. And I found this for $1.99 at the thrift store. And it, you know, has a few little chips in it, but I absolutely love it. And I love those colors. So that's going to be the start of the centerpiece. And I'm going to use the little, you know, vegetable parts to hold other little tabletop items. So I have my mushroom salt and pepper shakers, because it can't be the 70s without some mushrooms, right? And then I'm going to put just this copper, really I think it's a match holder, but it's just going to be a copper holder for my butterscotch handled knives. And this is really just decorative. I've already got knives. It serves no purpose other than to look pretty, so, which is not a bad purpose. So we've got that. Then in the center, I have this mushroom canister. It has a lid. Let me grab the lid. it has a lid. So I just took the lid off and put some dried florals in there. We'll set that right there in the middle next to the other mushrooms. And then in that last spot, I'm going to add a stack of my mid-century modern glog cups for no other reason than they are so mid-century looking. They just kind of go with the whole vibe. So here we have, I'm looking around to see, I think I got everything I need. Here we have my 1970s inspired tablescape. And stay tuned because nothing says 70s more than a casserole. And I'm going to have a special 1970s inspired vintage recipe to share with you in just a minute. Well, the recipe I'm making is a combination of chicken a la king and chicken pot pie. I had some chicken breasts that I needed to cook, so I cooked and chopped them up. I have a jar back there of homemade chicken stock that I took out of the freezer, some butter, half and half, some flour, green peas, crescent rolls, there's some pimentos hiding back there, and then some onion and garlic powder, salt and pepper. So I'm going to try to put all those together in a way that tastes delicious. First thing I'm going to do is to make a little roux for the white sauce. So I'm going to melt some butter, and to that I'll add a little bit of flour and then just let that cook down to get the flour taste out, and that will be the thickener for our white sauce. Giving that a good stir with my Happy Fall scraper that my son got me when he started his job at TJ Maxx a couple years ago. To that, I'm going to add some garlic powder, some onion powder, salt, pepper, and a little bit of Lawry's seasoning salt. And once all those items are in there, I'm going to give that a good stir and let that all kind of cook together and turn into a roux. You want to continually stir it so that your flour doesn't burn. But once it's nice and browned up, you're going to add, I added a cup of chicken stock. That's homemade chicken stock that I had in the freezer. Stirred that around, and then I'm going to add in some, you can use heavy cream, you can use milk. I used half and half because that's what I had on hand. I will be sure to link this recipe if I can find it. It's kind of a combination of two, so I'll link both recipes if I can find them in the description box. Now I'm just going to let that kind of come together and heat through, and to that I'm going to add my frozen peas. Give that a good stir and let those cook and bubble on the stove and get a little bit thick. You could certainly add peas and carrots, you could add onions, you could add whatever vegetables you wanted. I'm going to add in the pimentos there for some color, but I love frozen peas. I love peas, green peas, and so that's what I had in my freezer, so that's what I added. All right, that's boiling away, bubbling away and getting thicker, and to that I'm adding my chicken, which I have cut up into bite-sized chunks. I'm going to let that cook together and get heated through and stir that around. And then I'm going to add my secret ingredient. And what I like to add to this, once it gets good and bubbly, is a little bit of apple cider vinegar. I think that that kind of cuts through the richness of the cream sauce and gives it a little bit of a tang. So I add that to my chicken Alfredo, and I like to add it to anything that's got kind of a thick, creamy white sauce, and also a little pinch of nutmeg. What I've done is transferred everything into a baking dish and put my crescent dough on top of it, just like you would for, a chicken pot pie. And then I'm going to pop that in the oven at 350 and cook that until those crescent rolls are nice and brown. And there you see it's coming out of the oven, and doesn't that look
with the outside? I found some beautiful rust-colored mums. My geraniums are still looking beautiful, so I kept them as part of the decor. And those tall grasses just add a little bit of height. I've had that same wreath for so long, but I still love it. And the garland and the little mini pumpkins above the door. And over there you'll see just a crock full of hydrangeas. This is new, this little piece over the door that I got this year. It's kind of felted acorns and an old wreath at the side. Stepping inside into the dining room, I hung up my glittery acorns on the chandelier. Those were actually on sale from a Christmas sale, but they work perfectly for fall. And you can see there's my metal pumpkin that I got today. And I did put a candle in it and filled it with, and it's actually sitting on that little greenery that I got at the Christmas department. And I tucked in a lot of orange little extras so that it gave it more of a fall look. It's surrounded by the cornucopia vases that I found. And these are just little extras. There's the tiny little urn that I found. I stuck a pumpkin in there, as well as that candlestick from before. Here are some hydrangeas. I try to use what I have, and the hydrangeas are absolutely stunning right now. So to put them in an urn, they make an absolutely gorgeous bouquet. And the velvet pumpkins, which we do sell at our relativelyrefined.com shop. And I picked up these little gold or brass candle holders at the sale. I forgot to show those in the haul, but they were very simple. And then, of course, there are the little touches around the windowsill, bouquets on coffee tables. Little pumpkins tucked in wherever I can find, including in the hallway, where there is the little mushroom, the wooden mushroom, and then the candlesticks with the wooden acorns that Kevin has made, and some garland around the candle holders. Well, thank you for letting me show you how I brought our glorious fall inside and added a few fall touches inside our home as well. And before I sign off, I thought I would share with you one more of my favorite fall things, and that is a recipe for Indian red lentil soup. It is my absolute favorite meal on a fall day. So I'm going to leave you with that video. And if you have not already subscribed, please do. We absolutely love hearing from you and building our subscribership. We are fastly approaching 7,000 subscribers, and we are hoping to get to 10,000 very soon. So if you haven't done that, or if you haven't hit the notification bell so you get notifications when new videos go out, they typically go out on Thursdays, and sometimes there's an additional bonus video on a Sunday, so you wouldn't want to miss that as well. So from glorious fall in southern Vermont, I hope you too are enjoying this gorgeous, beautiful fall wherever you are. And we thank you very much for spending time with us. It's a perfect day to share with you my absolutely favorite soup recipe, which is Indian red lentil soup. So to get going, we are going to start with the basics of a soup stock, which is onion and garlic, and in this case it has some carrots and ginger. So I'm going to chop one onion, and this recipe serves, it looks like it's not very much, but it serves 4 to 6 people. I usually double this recipe, but I'm not going to do so today because it's really just for dinner for tonight. So I didn't need a whole lot of leftovers, but normally I double it. I have even tripled it. It's just a wonderfully warm recipe for fall or winter. So you just chop up the onion. And again, all of this is going to get immersed in it. You're going to use the immersion blender with it. So I don't worry about chopping it too tiny, the pieces. I'll get that all chopped up. And we are going to let that saute or just cook down for a few minutes in a tablespoon of butter, or I'm going to use olive oil. So I will put that in, be right back. Okay, so that is in the pot, and that's going to saute for a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. And while that is sauteing, the next ingredients that you're going to add to that to saute is really 1 large carrot. I did not have any large carrots, so I'm just using these small miniature carrots, and I grabbed a handful. I'm going to cut them up, and I'm going to consider them 1 large carrot. Probably more than 1 large carrot, but I'm not really measuring. I'm just kind of putting stuff in there. Okay, we'll get those chopped up. My daughter was telling me that she just picked some carrots from her garden. I did not plant carrots this year. If you did, if you do, and you're making this soup, a garden carrot would be ideal. So that's 1 large carrot. And then that's the next ingredient we're going to put into the pot. And then we're going to add 3 small cloves of garlic. I happen to have 2 larger cloves of garlic. These are from my garden. So instead of 3 small, I'm going to use 2 large. And these I'm going to just chop up in my little garlic chopper and have them ready, because after the carrots saute for a few minutes, then you add the garlic. And we'll get that ready while things are sauteing. There. And with the garlic, you add a couple of tablespoons of shredded fresh ginger. So I started that, so I'm just gonna, that looks about 1 tablespoon. I'm gonna shred up a little bit more. That looks about right. And we will add that. When this soup gets cooking, your kitchen is going to smell absolutely divine. It smells so good. Between the garlic, the ginger, and then there is just a mountain full of yummy warm spices that go in. So I'm going to scoop up my carrots and get ready to, so you can see in here, I'm just kind of, I've got the carrots and the onions browning up, and I'm using my new Le Creuset that I shared at a recent thrift haul. This was a marketplace find. I did not find this at the thrift store, but it was in brand new condition. Now it's got all 4 of those ingredients in there. You're just going to saute that up, scraping the bottom. Starting to smell very, very good. And the last ingredient that we're going to add to that right now are apples. And you add 2 fresh, slightly tart apples. These I picked up the road at the Mad Tom Apple Orchard, and they are Zestar, so they fit that bill. And you're just going to peel them and cut the core off, and then just kind of chop them roughly and throw them in. And this adds a nice little bit of sweetness, but not, because the apples are tart, they're not overly sweet. Scoop that in. And 1 more, I'll be right back. So after that, I'm looking at my recipe here, and you are going to add the red lentils and the stock. And the red lentils, it doesn't look like you use very much at all. You use 1/2 cup And then you use 3 cups of either chicken or vegetable stock. So you can see it has the stock in it, and you're going to let that simmer away until the lentils soften up, as well as do the carrots. Okay, that's kind of boiling. We're going to add pureed tomato, 14 ounces or 1 can of tomato puree. And then the best part is all of the spices, and there are lots. So we start with the 2 that get the most. Is a tablespoon of curry powder. I use the spices generously, and a tablespoon of cumin. I have to get some more of that. And then a half a tablespoon of paprika. Of turmeric. And of cinnamon. And a pinch of oregano. So I'm going to cover that and let that simmer for just a bit. So everything has softened up, and it is time to use the immersion blender. And if you are a soup maker, especially like a fall soups or soups that are sort of creamed up, not like keep the vegetables in chunks, you definitely need one of these. And what it does, I mean, you can use a blender, but this is so much easier. So we're going to blend this up. It's going to get nice and smooth. Okay, so now our soup is all creamy. All of the ingredients have been blended in with the immersion blender. And the last ingredient just makes it extra creamy, and it's 1 cup of coconut milk. So you pour that in. And sometimes what I do after I add the coconut milk, because the coconut milk looks a little bit like it has lumps in it. Although this doesn't look too bad once you get blending. Kind of breaks it down. But if there are little lumps of the coconut milk in it, you again just take 1 little pass with the immersion blender, and that should knock them out. And that is it. I'm just going to take a little sip. Oh, it's very, very hot. That is warm with just the right spices, and it is perfect for a fall. And that is my go-to fall soup, Indian red lentil soup. I hope you give it a try.